class social climbers play your games. Meet the man that works the clock 9 to 5 each day. Though you sign my paychecks, buddy, you ain't no mystic sage. Your signature ain't worth the ink you leave upon the page. You will not ignore me, I'll meet you in the morning. I think it's time you had a look at the other side of life. Can't you see the warnings? We're heading towards the morning. You can't stop the sun that shines a brand new kind of light. Whoa, 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 whoa. Looking down your nose at me, you think you're something else. You must think I'm the dog that drools each time you ring the bell. I am not your servant of this most unholy kind. I am just a messenger here to free your minds. You will not ignore me, I'll meet you in the morning. I think it's time you had a look at the other side of life. Can't you see the warnings? We're headed towards the morning. You can't stop the sun that shines a brand new kind of light. Oh, oh, oh. One day soon the sun will rise upon this human race. We'll see all the beauty that surrounds us in this place. It's not from all the things.
All right, well, good morning, folks, to the friendly skies northeast of Anchorage, Alaska. This is me and my trusty steed, Cessna 572 Echo Foxtrot. She's a 1976 Cessna Skywagon 2. Got it turbo normalized, which is awesome. Working up in Alaska here, where the extra power is nice, and to be able to climb up over the mountains, the turbocharger is quite essential. It's not essential, but it sure is nice to have. So anyway, this isn't going to be a review for the aircraft or anything like this. This is going to just be, let's climb back in the cockpit here. This is going to be just a kind of an adventure flight. We just took off from Anchorage. We're heading back to Valdez. We're in kind of a little bit of a cloud layer here, so I'm actually going to disengage the autopilot and climb out of this. It was VFR when we left, but, you know, things change. So like I said, we're heading back to Valdez, which is not where I normally operate out of. I operate largely out of Glacier Bay when I am up in Alaska. Specifically out of the airport at Gustavus, which is known as the gateway to Glacier Bay. Just want to get out and explore a little bit. I haven't been up here in a while, so up we came. All right. When we left Anchorage, it said that the overcast deck was at 10,000 feet. We don't have an overcast deck anymore. As you can see, the clouds are broken. We're up at 8,000 feet now. think I'm going to go ahead and climb us to like 9,500 feet. We should be able to stay above most of the clouds and most of the mountains. The last time I checked weather, Valdez is VFR currently, so we shouldn't have any problem getting in there. It's about an hour flight in this particular aircraft between Anchorage and Valdez. You guys, of course, are joining me about halfway through the flight. I took off and took care of all of that stuff before I started the stream. Alright. Okay, cylinder head temperature is coming up on 280, so I'm going to go ahead and crack those about halfway. 380, sorry, sound like an amateur here. I am new to streaming, and I've got to say that does definitely make me a little bit nervous. Anytime you do something new, it can make you nervous. And I've been flying for a very, very long time. I've been sim flying for what is it, 25 years or so. That's how I really got into knowing that flying is something that I wanted to do. So right out of high school, I was applying to aviation colleges and things like that, and actually did start flight training, but 9/11 happened, unfortunately, and of course that was a tragedy, but that also kind of spelled doom for the airline industry for a while. So I went in another direction, and I'm a professional musician. Who loves flying sims? But anyway, we're not going to really acknowledge that this is a sim. We're gonna do some real role playing in this series, and we are going to be Alaskan bush pilots. Alright, so coming up on 9,500 feet, I'm going to go ahead and level us out and initiate a cruise again. So the Cessna 185 that we're flying right now, this is one of the world's absolute premier bush planes. It first debuted on the scene in 1960 as a purpose-built utility version of the 180. Had a 260 horsepower engine at the time, and of course they built the 185 until 1985. Ironically, I'm going to go ahead and engage the autopilot here. Hold us at 9,500 feet, and we'll just maintain this heading for right now. I'm going to go ahead and set the heading bug, put us in heading hold mode, which it already was. All right, heading hold mode. Okay. Alright, so anyway, where was I? Oh yes, so it's a utility, a purpose-built utility version of the Cessna 180, which is virtually identical to the 185, except for the engine and strengthened gear struts and things like that. But anyway, so the definitive version of the 185, which is what this is, has a 300 horsepower Continental IO 520 engine, which is what we're running in this. Of course, as I mentioned before, it's turbo normalized. So with the turbo normalization, it still only outputs 300 horsepower, but it can put out 300 horsepower all the way up to 20,000 feet, which is really nice. So you can just set full power and stay there. Also has the gam ejectors in it. If you've never heard of those, I could spend an hour talking about how the gam ejectors work, but basically it equalizes the fuel flow to all 6 cylinders of the engine, so it allows much more consistent operation, and allows you to cruise lean of peak a little bit easier, which is what I'm going to do now. I'm going to go ahead and lean us out, and I'm going to set 13.3 gallons per hour as soon as the mixture stabilizes here. Anyway, like I was saying, the gam ejectors allow you to run lean of peak, which saves you a lot of gas without having to worry about burning out your cylinders. I've got the amazing new Garmin 275 electronic engine information system right here, which is awesome. It actually shows the CHT temperature down here. That's the probe. It automatically shows me my hottest cylinder. So as long as I go by that, I'm not burning the engine out. So typically for all operations, we try to keep it under 380 degrees Fahrenheit on the CHT. Of course, we can go hotter than that, but keeping it at 380 or below tends to extend the engine life quite a bit on these aircraft. So anyway, that's that. That's a little bit about my plane. You can see I've got retro avionics in here, which is awesome. No fancy Garmin or stuff like that as far as Nav Cons go, which I save those for like my Bonanza and stuff like that. But did upgrade the transponder to the Garmin GTX 330, which has lots of wonderful features built into it. It's a very easy to use unit. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. And then of course, we've got an old school handheld Garmin 295 GPS. That was like literally the first color moving map GPS that we all started using back in the late 90s, early 2000s. Still works just fine. We don't use it for IFR, of course, but I've got us decked out with a Bendix King HSI, and then we've just got the old from the 70s. Let me pull this out of the way really quick. Just the old from the 70s VOR2 here. Of course, added a nice DME as well for VFR navigation, as well as the KAP 140 by Bendix King 2-axis autopilot. It doesn't have altitude capture, so it's not super fancy like that. But it does have vertical speed capture, which is awesome. You can just adjust your vertical speed from there. It does heading hold, nav hold, approach hold, reverse hold. It does do altitude. It does. Let me back up. It does altitude capture in the way that once you arrive at a certain altitude, if you hit the altitude button, it'll capture that altitude and hold it. But there's no altitude pre-select, of course. Yeah, these mountains are beautiful. So this time of year up in Alaska, of course, it's extremely dark most of the time. It's what time is it? It's 10:24 local time in the morning, and the sun is not super high above the horizon, and it actually won't get much higher than that. So yeah, I mean it's mid-morning, and I'm still flying with the cockpit light on just to make sure I've got some extra illumination on the gauges here. It's not too cold. up at this altitude right now, which is kind of surprising, 22 degrees Fahrenheit or -8 Celsius. Alright, so let's look at the CHT. So we're maintaining 378 with cowl flaps all the way closed at 75% cruise. Yeah, you heard me right, 75% cruise at 13.3 gallons per hour. Normally you're up between 15.5 and 16 gallons per hour flying rich of peak like the manual says, but with the cam ejectors in here and keeping a close eye on that CHT, we can lean it back and save almost 2 gallons per hour, outputting the exact same amount of horsepower and maintaining the exact same speed. Let's go ahead and actually let's take a look here. Okay, so 26 minutes to Valdez, and of course we'll start descending before that. We're making 124 knots over the ground right now, so I'm guessing that means we've got a bit of a headwind. Because let's just see really quick. Let's pull up my my electronic E6B here. Now, what are we making? Okay, so we're making about 120. So what did that say? About 122, 123 knots over the ground. Okay, outside air temperature, when I say it was -8 Celsius. And plop that in there. And this is one of my favorite things about the GTX 330 is you can get your pressure altitude right there. It just gives it to you. You don't have to do any math or anything like that. You can still, of course, figure it out the old-fashioned way, but it's nice to just have it right there. So yeah, we're actually making 143 knots true. So that's just fine. That's actually I'm very proud of this airplane. 143 knots true airspeed at 75% power. Now, the reason that makes me happy is because of the fact that, because I, of course, have, let's go back outside the airplane again. Of course, have the 29-inch Goodyear Tundra tires on here, and I've got the awesome cargo pack on here. So those are both trade-offs. Those, of course, increase drag. And you lose, between the both of them, you probably lose about 10 to 12 miles an hour of cruise speed. So, yeah, and I wouldn't be able to cruise this fast if I wasn't up this high, and if the plane wasn't turbo normalized, because, again, the turbo normalization allows me to use full power at higher altitudes. So, oops. Just making sure my feed didn't cut out there. It may have cut out. I don't know. I don't know if my feed cut out or not. Oh well. Okay, so we're heading back toward the pink line you can see. So I'm going to go ahead and turn to meet that line. The reason that we weren't following it the whole time is because coming out of Anchorage, I kind of flew around the mountains a little bit, just to stay out of them. So now I'm coming back to meet up with my planned course. And this is just a direct, that's a direct line from Anchorage to Valdez. We're not flying IFR right now, obviously. Now, when I flew up to Anchorage, I did come up IFR because it was totally socked in Valdez. It was hairy getting out of there. So, you know, flying IFR, you typically don't fly direct. Flying VFR like we are right now, no reason to not fly direct if you can. Well, that's not entirely true, but that's another lesson. Anyway, I just disconnected the autopilot. We're back under manual control, and I'm going to go ahead and rejoin our course. Alright folks, so I'm going to try something special right now. This is something that is highly experimental. As I mentioned, I'm a musician, so I'm trying to figure out how I can combine all of my passions together. So, while we're in the middle of a flight, maybe in the boring sections like this, maybe, just maybe, I could show you guys a music video of mine. So let's go ahead and do that. I'll continue to fly the plane, and you guys watch a video. It's short, I promise. I'll see you in just a minute.
Intentional, you high class social. 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. She doesn't want to be a senator's wife. She doesn't want to marry a doctor. She wants to lead a different life. She could never love a man that bought her. I can't buy you diamonds or pearls. I can't buy a mansion on the hillside. I won't buy your happiness, girl. But you can get caught in my landslide. Don't try your troubadour besides. I think you really like me back. Never be no trophy wife. Never standing far behind. Your inspiration I would use. Now be your troubadour for life. Be my everlasting muse. A troubadour is really something. He makes his bed where he may please, spinning verses out of nothing. He brings a rich man to his knees. She said she'd rather marry a poet. She'd rather marry a guitar man. She wants some music, don't you know it? Well, I'll give her something that no one else can. Don't try your troubadour besides. I think you really like me back. Never be no trophy wife. Never standing far behind. Your inspiration I would use. Now be your troubadour for life. Be my everlasting muse. Now be your troubadour for life. Be my everlasting muse. Woo!
Alright, so what did you guys think of that? That was a song of mine called Troubadour. I, of course, was playing all the instruments there, if you hadn't noticed that. So that's what I do with most of my time when I'm not being an Alaskan bush pilot. God, look at those beautiful mountains. It's so beautiful. Anyway, make sure that you follow me here on Twitch for more of that kind of content, if that's your sort of thing. And then hop on over to my YouTube channel and subscribe to me there. make sure you click the bell so that you get notifications. I haven't been too active lately, but I might suddenly become more active if suddenly I have a large community of people to serve that depend on me for musical and aviation-related entertainment. Alright, let's see. Okay, so we're about 18 minutes out. I'm going to go ahead and start a descent, 500 foot per minute descent. I'm going to go ahead and let the autopilot do that. So we're going to toggle back into vertical speed mode and click 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm also going to go back to an enriched mixture. And I'm going to pull the power back so that we maintain about 140 miles an hour in the descent. This airplane's old school, so it's got an airspeed indicator calibrated in miles per hour. That's the outer ring is miles per hour. The inner ring is knots. So in the 185, we typically talk in terms of miles per hour. When we're talking about speed, the speeds that we're going to shoot for is what I meant to say. All right, so we're following our pink line into Valdez. Valdez is inside of a fjord with the tall mountains on either side of it, so it can be a little tricky to get into. But they have a relatively long runway there. Oh, and something else I should point out about the mixture that I'm using. So I actually have a little box by a company called Flight Enhancements. It's actually an auto mixture box. It's got a little arm on it that actually attaches to the shaft of the mixture knob and physically moves it back and forth depending on whatever parameters you set for it. So you can set an auto rich and an auto lean position on it, and you can toggle it back and forth, and it will actually watch the EGT, the exhaust gas temperature, and it will maintain a constant air to fuel mixture ratio based on the peak of the EGT. Now, of course, we're break character here, and of course, this is a simulator, and it's a simulated version of that thing. But that auto mixture box actually does exist, and I think it is a pretty cool concept. Gives you one less thing to think about, and it's easily manually overridden as well. You can just grab the mixture and take over again. So you can't really get into trouble with it. And if you know your airplane, you can look down at your fuel flow, you can look at your CHT and your exhaust gas temperature, and you know when it's out of limits, so you know if the thing's not working properly. But it's got all kinds of lights and things that flash on it if things aren't if things are outside of tolerances. So okay, so you can see just right up ahead there, that's kind of where Valdez is. So we're going to be able to kind of dip through this little valley and hang a left down into here and land. So let's go ahead and take a look here. So we're 29 nautical miles out, so I'm going to go ahead and actually cancel flight following and call Valdez. Let me unmute. Anchorage Center, Cessna 2 Echo Foxtrot. I'd like to cancel flight following at this time.
Cessna 2 Echo Foxtrot, Anchorage Center, cancellation received. Squawk 1200, frequency change approved.
Squawking VFR. Cessna 2 Echo Foxtrot, continue. Alright, so there's Valdez. Let's go ahead and listen to ATIS.
Papa Alpha Victor Delta automated weather observation 1940 Zulu. Wind 334 at 4. Visibility greater than 20 miles. Sky condition feeling 7,300 broken. Temperature 2 Celsius. Dew point -3 Celsius. Altimeter 2897. Papa Alpha Victor Delta automated weather observation 1941 Zulu. Wind 334 at 4. Visibility greater than 20 miles. Sky condition feeling 7,300 broken. Temperature 2 Celsius. Dew point -3 Celsius. Altimeter 2897. Papa Alpha Victor Delta automated weather observation.
Alright, good deal. So, let's see. So we're going to go ahead and land runway 6. So let me go ahead. I already got that set. Yeah, so... pull the power back a little bit more. We're getting a little fast. Okay, I've still got my cowl flaps closed. Alright, so let's go ahead and tell Valdez we're coming. Valdez doesn't have a control tower, so it's basically on your honor as a pilot to let everybody know you're coming. Valdez traffic. Cessna 2 Echo Foxtrot is 22 nautical miles to the east. Inbound to land, full stop, runway 6. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and take back over manual control and make sure we stay out of these mountains here. We don't want to get involved with the mountains. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and advance the power. Back to cruise. Okay, now check this out. So we're back at 75% power and we are burning 15.7 gallons of fuel. So over 2 gallons per hour more now that we're back at best power mixture. It's not as economical, as they'd have you believe. Flying lean of beak is the way to go. Again, that's a lesson for another time. Okay. Okay, we're getting some of the updrafts off of the hills here, so it's getting just a little bumpy. I think think I can go ahead and safely take us down to 5,500 feet at this point. I can see the fjord again, so I'm just trying to make sure that I can continue to see the water over there, you know, to make sure that we're going the right way. You've always got the GPS to fall back on, but when you're flying VFR, you want to make sure that your eyes are telling you the same story. About 15 nautical miles out, I'll call Valdez again and announce our position. Okay, so I think I can continue to slowly descend. Descending. I'll look up over the nose just a little bit. Oh, I haven't even shown you guys all the awesome GoPro angles that I've got set up in here. Well, geez. Okay, so here's one. Kind of just right in the middle of the action type view. And then there's this one, which I don't know how I feel about. It's really hard to fly from this angle. I mean, I can still see what I'm doing, but it's pretty disorienting. So, I don't know, maybe it's not as cool as I thought, but whatever, you know. It is what it is. Okay, I'm gonna make sure that we don't hit this hill right here, but we're okay. Okay, so yeah, the waterway is totally opening up. I can actually see right where the airport is at this point. Valdez traffic, Cessna 2 Echo Foxtrot is 15 nautical miles to the east, inbound to land, full stop, runway 6. Pull the power out just a little bit more. We can descend a little bit faster at this point. Let's see, we're about seven minutes out. But it's right straight ahead. We got about 1,000 feet per minute. We're descending right now. Pull out even more power. Whoa, okay. Yeah, it's windy. It is windy. Yeah, Valdez is a little bit of a challenge because it's right up against these mountains here, so the winds get really weird, really weird. It actually has an offset instrument landing system, so you actually don't come in straight at the runway. If you're coming in IFR, you come in at an angle, and then you have to make kind of a gentle turn right at the end to keep you away from the mountains a little bit. You know, that's it's not a bad idea. I haven't flown in here a lot though. I mean, this is I think in all my years flying, I think this is maybe only the third time that I've ever been to Valdez. I spend way more time flying in the Alaska Panhandle around Glacier Bay. as I mentioned before. Alright, I'm going to pull us back to about 15 inches of manifold pressure. And hang right there. I'm going to watch the CHT because as we've still got power in and as we start to slow down, there won't be as much air available to cool the engine. So even though we're at lower power, the CHT is probably going to start coming. Yeah, it's coming up 361 now, which isn't a big deal. We can always open the cowl flaps, which I'll do that right before we land anyway. I'll open them full as part of gumps. That's my procedure. Valdez traffic, Cessna 2 Echo Foxtrot is 7 nautical miles inbound, straight in, full stop landing, runway 6. There's nobody else in the pattern. I mean, the radio's totally dead, so I don't need to fly the pattern. I'm just going to fly straight in. Alright, so that red light that you see ahead of us, that's actually a couple of red lights. It's called the Precision Approach Path Indicator, or PAPI. Those are a visual aid so that you can tell that you're on a proper glide path. I can't talk. Proper glide path to the runway. When there are two reds like that, that means that you're too low, but we're not actually too low because we're not even at traffic pattern altitude yet. So I'm going to go ahead and give us 2,700 RPM, which is full rated power. Enough. Alright, we're going to go ahead and gumps. Alright, so gas, fuel pump is on. We don't actually have undercarriage, so I say U for the cowl flaps. Mixture. Full rich. Prop is already set. Alright, so we got red over white, so now we're on glide path. So I'm going to go ahead and slow us down to approach speed. I love the chug, chug, chug sound of this engine. Alright, I'm going to look up over the nose here. This is a conventional gear aircraft, also known as a tail dragger, so we gotta be able to see over the nose, because as soon as all three wheels are down, we're not going to be able to see over the nose because it's going to be up in the air. Alright, I'm going ahead and I'm putting in flaps, putting out flaps. We're going to stabilize at about 80 miles an hour. Alright, so I got my flaps all the way out. Okay, I'm going to make sure that my tail wheel lock is off so I can steer as soon as we hit the ground. Alright. And we're going to hold 80 miles an hour because we got plenty of runway. We'd go 70 miles an hour if we were landing out in the bush and we needed to stop fast. Okay, we're a little bit too low, so I'm going to go ahead and put power back in. Stop our sink a little bit. Okay, we're raising a little bit. I'm gonna pull power back out, holding 80 miles an hour. Okay, and we're gonna do a wheel landing. I've been practicing those lately. It's really easy to 3-point the 185. It's not as easy to wheel land it, so let's see how far I bounce. Okay, keep the power in. We're just gonna fly it down to the runway. Power out. One little bounce. Okay, I'm dropping the tail. Hey, not bad. Not bad. Okay, we are going to look at the instant replay of the landing. Stand by. I always like to critique my landings. Let's look at the last 60 seconds. Alright, so here we are. So we're going to watch in flyby mode. Oh, I love the sound of that motor. And closing the throttle, and yeah, just one little bounce. You can barely even call that a bounce. We did roll off the center line a little bit, but again, it's no big deal. Okay, now let's watch it from a fixed perspective here. My shadow. Shadows. Pretty cool. Yeah, just one little bump. And then I could feel the wind kind of pulling me over, so I needed to get that tail wheel down immediately so that I had a little help steering. So I pulled the flaps out immediately. Or up. Why do I keep saying out today? See, my flaps are down full. And then as soon as I hit the ground and I see that I'm starting to squirm a little bit, I take the lift out of the wings by pulling the flaps up. And the tail wheel drops almost immediately. And up come the flaps, and the tail drops. That makes it a little easier to steer. All right, let's. We don't need to watch the rest of that. So, all right. So immediately, I'm gonna turn my fuel pump off, turn my landing lights off, go full forward on the prop. All right, let's get off this runway. Yeah, there's a fuel pump right over there. I'm just gonna run over there and just park at the fuel pump and refuel and fly back to Gustavus. I don't know if I'm gonna bring you guys along with me for that or not. It's a really long, boring flight. Really long, boring flight. I mean, beautiful mountains, of course, but it's just let me do that on my own. It'll be a lot more interesting, you know, once we get back to Gustavus and we can start doing like some real bush flying again. I don't like all this all this flying around airports garbage. So I'll get parked and get the airplane shut down, and then I'll let you guys go. Yeah, we're just gonna head right over to the fuel farm. Love this airplane. I have flown a lot of airplanes over the years, and few fit me as well as this one. Alright, so this, okay, breaking character again. This, of course, the aircraft that I'm flying is the beautiful Cessna 185 Bush add-on for Carenado's 185. This is Flight Sim 2004. I know it's almost 20 years old, but it's still one of the best out there. The graphics aren't the best. But as someone who has extensively flown actual aircraft, I will tell you that this simulator feels the least like a game out of most all of the simulators I've ever tried. You know, it's like this is I feel like this is made with pilots in mind. So anyway, let me turn all the lights off, turn the avionics off so we don't blow up the radios. We'll leave the beacon on, of course, until the engine stops. Go and pull the mixture out. Alright, good deal. Let's go ahead and turn the beacon off. Turn the alternator and the battery off. Alright, and we're good to go. Alright, well, again, thank you everybody for flying with me from Alaska to Valdez. I thank you. 2 Echo Foxtrot thanks you, my trusty winged buddy. And that, in case you were wondering, yep, that's actually me in the plane. I paint these planes, and I do lots of flight dynamics programming based on real-world data and stuff. So, yeah, Microsoft Flight Simulator's tagline has always been as real as it gets. This is about as real as it gets. Anyway, so again, thank you guys for joining me on this short flight from Anchorage to Valdez, Alaska. Hope you liked the music video that I showed. Your feedback really helps. Make sure that you follow me here on Twitch and follow the link in my profile over to my YouTube channel. Subscribe there. Any of my Twitch videos eventually end up on YouTube because, of course, Twitch only holds on to them for 2 weeks. So, and there's other stuff of mine on YouTube as well. So, anyway, thank you for joining, and we'll see you later.